Okay, so now let's do the next activity step by step by step by step. We have two different equations. We have an equation that Claire, I'm going to make this a little bit, maybe not. We have Claire who wants to solve this equation, and then we have Lynn who wants to solve this equation. It's not two different equations. It's the same equation, just two different ways to solve it. So Claire took the equation 14x minus 2x plus 3 equals 3 times the quantity of 5x plus 9. And she wanted to find out what x was, and she decided that x was negative 8. Lynn did the exact same thing. She took the same equation, 14x minus 2x plus 3 equals 3 times 5x plus 9. And she also came up with x equals negative 8. So let's take a look and see if their solutions are correct. Let's see what they did. Let's start with Claire. Claire started by taking the 14x minus 2x, and she simplified that. 14x minus 2x is 12x, and then she just kept the plus 3. So 14x minus 2x plus 3 is the same as 12x plus 3. She combined the negative 2x and the 14x and got 12x. And then she just kept this the same on this side. Then, as we go down to the next one, she looked at 12x plus 3 and she said, that looks like there's a common factor. There's a number that I could divide out of both the 12x and the 3, and that number is 3. So she basically created, it's called factoring, and she pulled this 3 out, and if we use the distributive property, we would see that it's still the same thing. 3 times 4x is 12x, and 3 times 1 is 3. So 12x plus 3 is the same as 3 times the quantity of 4x plus 1. And then this just stayed the same. The next thing she did is she noticed that there was a 3 being multiplied by 4x plus 1 and a 3 being multiplied by 5x plus 9. So she divided both sides by 3. If she divided this by 3 and divided this one by 3, she would have ended up with 4x plus 1 equals 5x plus 9, because this 3 divided by 3 became a 1 times 4x plus 1, and this 3 divided by 3 became a 1 times 5x plus 9. So all that we have left now is 4x plus 1 equals 5x plus 9. It looks like the next thing she did was she decided that if she subtracted 4x from this side, she could get rid of it. But remember, whatever you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other side of the equation. So she subtracted 4x from this side, and that means she subtracted 4x from the other side as well. So 5x minus 4x is just 1x, and 4x minus 4x is 0. So 1 equals x plus 9. And then the last thing she did was she said, well, I could subtract this 9 from both sides. And if she takes 9 away from 1, that gives her negative 8. 1 minus 9 is negative 8, so negative 8 equals x. So Claire did a good job on solving that equation. Let's see how Lynn solved it. Lynn said, I have 14x minus 2x plus 3 equals 3 times 5x plus 9. And what Lynn did was she also subtracted the 2x, 14x minus 2x is 12x plus 3, and then she kept this the same. And then her second step, what she did was, instead of factoring out this 3 like Claire did, she decided to use the distributive property and multiply 3 times 5x and 3 times 9. So 3 times 5x is 15x, 3 times 9 is 27. So now she has 12x plus 3 equals 15x plus 27. Because she didn't add or subtract anything, she doesn't have to do anything to the other side. She was just rearranging these numbers. Now we have 12x equals 15x plus 24. Well, it looks like she got rid of this 3, and I think what she did was she subtracted it. So she subtracted 3 from this side. I can make that be a 3. And so if she's going to subtract 3 from this side to keep her hanger balanced, she has to subtract 3 from this side as well, the other side. And 12x plus 3 minus 3 is just 12x. And 15x plus 27 minus 3 is 15x plus 24. So she subtracted 3 from both sides, got rid of that 3, and reduced the 27 to 24. Now she's looking at 12x equals 15x plus 24. And it looks to me like she decided that she was going to move this 15x, she was going to get rid of it, and she was going to have to subtract it. So when she subtracted 15x from this side, she also subtracted 15x from this side. And when you have 12x and you subtract 15x, you end up with a negative 3x. So she had negative 3x equals 24. So then she had to decide what number times negative 3 is going to give her a positive 24. And the way that you can think about that is you can think negative 3, you can take the 24 and you can divide it by negative 3. So 24 divided by negative 3 gives you a negative 8. So x ends up equaling negative 8. Again, a different way to solve it, but still came up with the same answer. So are both of their solutions correct? Absolutely they are. So what are some ways that these two are alike and what are they different? So take a look and see if you can tell me how are they alike and how are they different? The last thing we're going to do is we're going to look at Mai and Noah, who also solved the equation, but some of their steps have errors. So we're going to try to find the incorrect step in each solution and explain why it is incorrect. So let's go ahead and take a look at this one. So we have Mai, who has 14x minus 2x plus 3 equals 3 times 5x plus 9. 14x minus 2x is 12x plus 3. That seems okay. And that's equal to 3x plus 9. That seems fine as well. Now we have 7x plus 3 equals 3 times 9. I think there's a problem here. Can you see the problem? What did Mai do wrong? If you said that Mai tried to subtract 5x from both sides, you would be correct because we took 12x minus 5x is 7x, and she took the 5x here and subtracted it and then just had a 0. But the truth is that you can't do that. When you have a multiplication number like 3 times everything that's inside here, you can't just take that 5x away. She would have had to have multiplied this out, and it would have been, because it's really not 5x, it's really 15x. 3 times 5x is 15x. So right there is where Mai made her mistake. Let's see if she continued to make a mistake. Looks like she did everything else fine, but because she tried to subtract that 5x, she came out with x equals 24/7, which is not the correct solution. Let's take a look at Noah. What did Noah do? Noah started with 14x minus 2x plus 3 equals 3 times 5x plus 9. And he subtracted 14x minus 2x and he got 12x plus 3. And he multiplied 3 times 5x is 15x and 3 times 9 is 27. So far that looks good. Then he said 27x plus 3 equals 27. Well, it looks like he tried to get rid of this 15x, which means he would have subtracted it. The problem is that over on this side, he didn't subtract it, he added it. 15x plus 12x is 27x, but you can't add 15x to this side right here and not add it to this side. He had to subtract 15x and then subtract 15x, and that would have been negative 3x plus 3 equals 27. So right here is where Noah made his mistake. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to do is this activity 3, and it's make your own steps. And I'm going to do the first one, and then I'm going to see how you do on these next two. So we have solved these equations for x. I have 12 plus 6x divided by 3 equals 5 minus 9 divided by 2. So I'm going to start by going ahead and looking to see if there's a way. This is something that I do all the time, is I look for a way that I can get rid of denominators, because denominators end up being a problem. So I think if I multiply this side of my equation by 3, I'll be able to get rid of that 3. So let me try that out. Let's see what I can do. I'm going to multiply. I'm going to write it a little bit bigger over here. 12 plus 6x divided by 3 equals 5 minus 9 divided by 2. You know, before I do anything, I think I might just simplify. I was thinking I would get rid of that 3, but I think I'm going to just get this simplified, because what's 5 minus 9? Well, 5 minus 9 is just the same as negative 4. And negative 4 divided by 2 is just negative 2. So now I have all of this over here. 12 plus 6x divided by 3 is equal to negative 2. And that just feels like it'll be a little bit easier for me to solve. So 12 plus 6x divided by 3. Now I still want to go ahead and get rid of that 3. So I'm going to multiply this side by 3. And when I do that, those two are going to cancel out and become a 1. But if I'm going to multiply this side by 3, I have to multiply the other side by 3 as well. So I'm going to multiply this side by 3 too. And that gives me 12 plus 6x equals negative 2 times 3 is a negative 6. Okay? Now, I'm thinking if I can get my 6x by itself, if I can move this 12 over, if I can get rid of it by subtracting 12 from both sides, then I'll just have 6x by itself. So that becomes 0. And I'm going to subtract 12 from this side too, because remember, whatever I do to one side, got to do to the other side. So negative 6 minus 12 is negative 18. And this is 0 plus 6x. So I got to remember that I still have that 6x there. And now I have 6x equals negative 18. And the question is, what do I multiply by 6 to get a negative 18? Well, all I have to do is divide negative 18 by 6. Divide 6 by 6. That gives me 1. That gives me my 1. 6 divided by 6 is 1. So I end up with x equals negative 18 divided by 6. And x equals negative 3. Because negative 18 divided by 6 is a negative 3. So now it's going to be your turn to try to solve this next one. So I'm going to let you work on that a little bit, and then you can come back. You can tell me what you think the solution is, and then you can come back and watch my video and see if you did it correctly. All right, what did you come up with? Well, let's see if we can solve it together. We have x minus 4 equals 1/3 times 6x minus 54. Well, if we multiply by 1/3, that just means that I'm going to be dividing by 3. So I'm going to go ahead and use the distributive property and get rid of this fraction because I just like to get rid of fractions as soon as possible. And I think I can divide 6 by 3 and I can divide 54 by 3. So this stays the same. X minus 4 stays the same for now. And 6 divided by 3 is just 2x. And 54, or negative 54 divided by 3 is 18, I believe. Negative 18. 3 goes into 5 one time with 2 left over. Yeah, negative 18. So now I have x minus 4 equals 2x minus 18. So I think what I'm going to do is I am going to first subtract an x from this side so that all I have is a negative 4 over here. And of course, if I'm going to subtract negative x from this side, I'm going to subtract an x from this side as well. I'm not subtracting a negative 6, I'm adding a negative 6, or subtracting x. X minus x is 0, so I don't have to worry about that, and all that's left is negative 4. And when I say 2x minus x, well, that's just x minus 18. Because 2x minus x is x. Now, I'm looking at this negative 18, and if I could do the opposite to get rid of that 18, I would add 18 to this side. So I'm going to add 18 to this side, which will then make that be 0, but I have to add 18 to this side. So now I have 18 minus 4, or negative 4 plus 18. So this becomes a positive 14, and that becomes an x. So I now know that x is 14. Try the next one. All right, how did you do on this one? Well, let's go ahead and try it out. The first thing I notice is that there's this negative in front of the parentheses 3x minus 12. And that negative really means that there's a negative 1 that's going to be multiplied by 3x, and that negative 1 is going to be multiplied by negative 12 because it's the opposite of everything inside. So negative 1 times 3x is a negative 3x. So I'm just using the distributive property to get rid of that negative on the outside. And negative 1 times a negative 12 is a positive 12 because a negative times a negative is a positive. So I end up with negative 3x plus 12, and that's equal to 9x minus 4. And as I look at this, I'm thinking that if I can get rid of that 3x, I would have 12 here, and I would just have to change that 9x. So the way that I'm going to get rid of that 3x is if I have a minus 3x, I'm going to add 3x. I always do the opposite because that gives me 0. So if I add 3x to both sides, I end up with, this just becomes 0, and this becomes 12. And 9x plus 3x is 12x. And then I still have my minus 4. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I think I'm going to try to get rid of this 4 because my goal is really to try to get the x by itself. That's kind of the number one goal, get x by itself. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. And I end up with 16 on this side. And of course, that just goes away. And it's equal to 12x. Now I have to think about, what do I multiply 12 by to get 16? Well, it's really just the same thing as saying 16 divided by 12. So if I divide both sides by 12, this becomes a 1, and I just have x by itself. And 16 divided by 12, if I reduce that a little bit, it will be, I can divide by 4 on all of them, it would be 4 thirds. So x is equal to 4 thirds, or or 1 1/3? Is that what you came up with? All right, I think it's time for our cool down. All right, so here is your cool down. It is called Missteps. And it says Lynn solved the equation 8 times the quantity of x minus 3 plus 7 equals 2x times the quantity of 4 minus 17. But she did it incorrectly. Can you find the errors in her solution and then tell us what should her answer have been? So let's just take a quick look and see if we can figure out what she did. 8 times the quantity of x minus 3 plus 7, and that stayed the same. So she didn't do anything to this side. And then this, she did 2x times 4 minus 17. And it looks like she just combined 4 minus 17 inside her parentheses, which is totally allowed because there's no x's in there. You can do 4 minus 17. And she came up with 13. That seems like that might have been a problem. See if you can figure out why 4 minus 17 is not 13. Then let's see what she did. Then she did 8x minus 24 plus 7, which that makes sense because it looks like she went ahead and did the distributive property, 8 times x and 8 times negative 24. So that seems okay. And then here she did 2x times 13 is 26x. So that makes sense. All right. So then looks like she did negative 24 plus 7. So that would be the same as 7 minus 24. So that would be a negative 17. That makes sense. 8x. And it's still 26. And then I think she should have subtracted 8x. But if you're going to subtract 8x from both sides, will you come up with positive 34x there? That seems like another problem. What did she do wrong there? And then when she got to this, she divided by 34 because 34 times what gives her negative 17. And she found that that was negative 1/2. So she decided that x is equal to negative 1/2, which if she hadn't made those mistakes, that probably was the case. So your job is to figure out what did she do wrong here and what did she do wrong here in between those steps, okay? And you can follow her same process. You can do exactly what she did, but you have to make sure you fix her mistakes to figure out what her answer